Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest episode of Tales from Outer Space, taken from the subreddit HFY. The links to all the stories will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. And if you do, please consider subscribing. Story number 1, Rules, written by Bellamaster. What do you think you're doing? Durgan sat stock still, studying the human technician they'd hired. She had no idea what it was doing. Durgan was an ore transporter. Her mother had been an ore transporter, and with no other female siblings to carry on the tradition, she had stepped up to the task. Back and forth from the fringe planets, in and out of the gravity well farms, up and down the asteroid fields, Durgan did her best to make her mother proud. She worked for a good business with decent contracts and acceptable commissions. There was nothing remarkable about her. Durgan unfolded her 6 of her thorns, or creepy chest and back arms, as the humans have often said, and tried to imitate the humans' movements. It was using some sort of holographic display to imitate her check and gyro-stabilizing engine. But instead of knocking on the metals used to test the timber and tone, the human was running her hands on some device over the gears to, feel them? The human spoke without warning. How personable. The 2nd and 4th gear need to be replaced. The metal is good, but the teeth have been stripped a few micromillimeters. The human looked over at them. You've been switching from 2nd to 4th without going through 3rd. Durgan's pilot tensed up and then looked away. She answered, for her conflict had never run strong in her line. Yes, we have. The ship seems to respond to it better. The human took off the gloves and closed the access panel to the gyro-stabilizer's gearbox. 2 more months of that and you'd be corkscrewing through space. I am not going to report you. You seem like the honest type. However, you do need to promise me that you'll replace those gears before leaving the port. Durgan twitched a few times, signifying curiosity. When the human didn't respond, she spoke. Promise? You have to give me your word, declare that you'll do it. Durston didn't understand. Of course I will. Why would I not? The human grunted and turned to check the rest of the engines. You'd be surprised at what some people try to get away with. The human, who went by the human name of Daniel, turned off her holographic display and walked around the engine once, turned off 2 of the idling inflow valves, and bled the excess pressure and counted to 20. She then removed the main inflow and checked the intake. Durgan couldn't help but stare. Pardon my rudeness, Technician Daniel, but why do you enact so many small tasks in order to begin one? Daniel shoved her arm inside the intake valve and began feeling around, her face contorting with an effort. Pre-jacks, gotta follow the rules. Why? The human pulled out a hard chunk of silicite. There's your main issue. You had a sedimentary buildup. How long since this thing was last cleaned? She stuck her arm in again. Durgan checked, throwing her mind through her acquired memories. About 3 generations ago. Geez, she pulled out another chunk the size of her fist. No wonder it was off-kilter. You're supposed to clean it every 16 orbits. Durgan committed the order to memory, and then asked her question again. Why these rules, though? Why not just do as you are made to do? The human stopped. What are you talking about? Your mind. Is it not made up of the most important memories of your ancestors? No, we don't have generational knowledge retention. That's why we have rules. She pulled out the last piece and began hooking up the gyro-stabilizer engine again. The reason I checked the inflow valves is because 14 years ago, a mechanic named David Anderson checked the intake without turning them off or bleeding off the pressure. His hand ruptured and he suffered an air embolism. Durgan didn't quite follow. But you know of this. Was Technician David your father? Did he impart this knowledge to you upon your birth? Danielle shook her head as she picked up the selectite pieces and placed them into the sack of her harness. No, we learned about him. He's an example of what not to do. She turned on her holographic display and pulled up the extensive list. This is the rulebook and I follow it religiously. Out here, this is my Bible, the difference between life and death. She pointed to the bulleted points on the list, each taking a single line. Durgan leaned in to see. There were 4 columns and one was on a page 460. Durgan pulled back. There are so many. Why must you follow all of these? It is too much. The human shook her head. Each one of these rules is in place because blood was shed. Every measure we take, every time we stop and reevaluate, it is because someone either died or was injured doing it wrong. She flicked off the display. Our rules are written in blood, and we follow them so nobody else gets hurt. It doesn't always work, but we try. Durgan contemplated this, then watched the human meticulously ran through checks of the engine and finally switched it back on. The gentle rocking of the transport ship immediately gave way to an even keel. Durgan thanked the mothers, then thought to thank the technician. Thank you, Technician Danielle. It feels as though my ship has returned to her old self. I haven't felt her this steady since my mother flew her. Not a problem. Now, what are you going to do before you leave the port? Replace the 2nd and 4th gear. Right on. Now, let's go and check the rest of your ship. Durgan led onwards, her initial doubt about the human allayed. While Durgan only had the collective experience of her mothers before her, this human had the collective experience of her entire race behind her. She was in good hands. End of story number 1. Story number 2. Pacification, written by Sam G789. Species name human. Species subclass mammal predatory sapient. Species aggression rating 20 out of 20. Pacification highly advised. The human species is truly a testament to the humor of the universe. The most naturally aggressive species ever discovered, and yet they possess enough intelligence to act of their own cruelty as efficiently as possible. Our reports show that they have recently acquired basic spaceflight technology and are in the process of colonizing an uninhabitable planet in their own solar system. However, it is not too late to save the galaxy from this ruthless species. Global pacification is possible and highly recommended. The Council has made its final decision. The global pacification device was the reward of many generations of struggle against the predatory sapient species of the galaxy, which had plagued the prey species of the Council since long as life had granted the stars. The device spawned a massive, impenetrable shield that engulfed the entirety of its target planet. The planet remained habitable, but those who called it home would never leave its bounds. They would be trapped on their planet forever, the stars just out of reach. The pacification of Sol 3 went as planned. Humanity on the galactic stage would be an example to the budding xenobiologists, attesting to the wild indifference of the universe as its pawn. A century in Sol years had passed since the pacification of humanity, but if you ask the humans, they'd say pacification was the wrong word. Quite the opposite, actually. If anything, the shield lit up the fire underneath the collective tail of humanity. Over a century of construction and almost an entire world's economy went into Project Exodus. Millions of lives too lost in some way or another, but any human you ask would say that it was worth it. Project Exodus was a device powered by a combination of Sol 3's core and a massive splitting of unstable atoms. The device itself was about 50,000 galactic standard units squared, or in human units, 80 miles squared. An unfathomably large device which fired a laser beam so powerful it completely neutralized the global pacification shield, which was previously thought to be impenetrable. Almost instantly after the shield was destroyed, a swarm of human ships exited Sol 3's atmosphere. The first ships to leave were seemingly military ships outfitted with a scaled-down laser similar to the Project Exodus device. The second ships to leave were colony ships. Project Exodus appeared to also include the eventual evacuation of all 9 billion of Earth's residents to different colonies, as the Exodus laser produced enough radiation to make all of Sol 3 uninhabitable for 50 years. With adverse effects life beginning around 30, it seems that Sol 3 should be completely abandoned by then, however. We managed to get to the human comms earlier this cycle. We asked the humans why. Why would they sacrifice their home planet for a chance to go to the unforgiving unknown? They told us the complacency isn't in their nature. The human naval fleet is estimated to arrive in 10 days. It appears that their definition of pacification is somewhat different than ours. End of story number 2. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. If you wish to support the author, there is a link to the original story, so pop over there and give him your support. If you wish to support this channel, however, there are a few ways to do so. The best and easiest would be to share this video with other people, as well as liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. All of these things tell the algorithm that this channel is at least vaguely interesting and that may share it with other people. If you wish to support the channel in some other manner, watching my other videos would also help tremendously. Or if you really like, there is a link down below to leave a tip or to join the Patreon. Any and all support is very much appreciated. And I hope that you all have a good one until the next time. And I'll see you then. Cheers.